this exercise, Target and Allies, on page 20, we start with, we're not going over all of this because you know much of this, but I tell you it is so simply laid out, which is why I still use this work. This woman, Ricky Sharova Marcuse, it was her doctoral thesis back in the 70s, really supplied the movements, the various movements, with some solid content around what is an ally, who is why would we want to be, and so forth. So you know it's someone who's willing to act on your behalf, in support of, etc., but also you as an ally, willing to act on behalf of, in coalition with, etc. The need for the various groups that you have seated and connected north to south Africa. You're asking these groups to be allies to each other, as well as allies to whomever it is that they are working for. So she talks about the definition of allies, strategies for allies. Now look at this. Go down to the paragraph under strategies for allies, that first paragraph. Since under present world conditions, and it hasn't changed much in a very essential way since she wrote this, since under present world conditions everyone either is now or has been or will be at some time a target of social oppression and injustice. And since everyone is now or has been or will be in a non-target group in relation to some other group's oppression, alliance building is for everyone. That we're all in some way in one of those privileged groups, and people don't like to think about that, sometimes, especially if you're feeling targeted a lot. But we can just say, we all walk into this room, we all seem to have eyesight and able to hear. In my world, we might live with various kinds of hidden disabilities. There's a way in which there's privilege around just ability. So, and I'm sorry that I actually ended up, did I do 1 and 2? I ended up with 2 pages of the same thing. So 20 and 21 are actually the same. In 22, some guiding principles for being an effective ally. Again, you know some of this stuff, but I lay it all out because you might be able to use this in your work, whether you use it written out like this or in other ways. Number 2, on page 22, I like it. Assume that all people in the target group want members of your group, and you in particular, as an ally. Assume that they recognize you as such, at least potentially, and that any appearances to the contrary, that is, any apparent rejections of you as an ally, are the result of the target group's experience of oppression and internalized oppression. I love the way she gets at that in terms of people can so readily, but those people don't really want to say that. Or I tried that ally stuff and, people, and again, you're in a different position in terms of the work that you do, but you might be encountering people who, again, to be an ally to that group, they're not going to want us to, etc. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So she's just saying, and number 4, important, that you can point out to people. Assume that making mistakes is part of the learning process of being an ally, an ever more effective ally. Be prepared for flare-ups of disappointment and criticism. Acknowledge and apologize for mistakes, learn from them, but don't retreat. Move on. All right, so having that little context for ally, we're going to actually do our final exercise on target and allies with you finding one other person. We're going to now end by having dyads, 2 people in groups. So I want you to go for the difference. Go for somebody that you have had the least kind of interaction with in the exercises and so forth, and pair yourselves up. And then I will give you the directions. Pair yourselves up, and you know how to turn those chairs, get in conversational mode with one other person. You have to move or invite active listening, active listening, active listening. So here, active listening. One person is speaking, don't interrupt her. Don't say, oh yeah, I had that experience too. No, no, no. You want to listen to the person. So what we're doing for the first part, and don't go to the second part, just the first person usually takes about 2.5 minutes. I kind of hit the bowl a little bit, but you might move faster than I do. Now hear that. If you finish, just throw it to the other person. Don't wait for me, okay? But I want you to really thoroughly share with your partner. You're thinking about a time when you were the target. You were targeted for some kind of discrimination, prejudice coming at you, stereotypes, and so forth, oppressive behavior. verbally or physically abused, whatever, because you belong to a targeted group. Or it might have been also some action that was taken. It didn't have to be just one time or in a particular personal thing. It could have been within an organization. And as part of your membership in a group, you were being excluded by a policy or whatever, etc. But it was something that any time in your life, this particular episode, though, is vivid to you. So you're going to be able to describe it to your partner. This was a moment, a time in this situation where I was being targeted. Stuff was coming at me, and explain what that was. But that is not the objective of this exercise, is not just to explain that and then to go on and on about how awful it was, because we know it was awful. You wouldn't be talking about it if it weren't awful. But that's not what we're using this moment for, to go on about it. Is to set it up, describe it to your partner, and then now the work is describe to your partner, did someone come to your aid, for your support, to be an ally? Did someone come to interrupt that bit of targeting that was coming at you? And if they did, what did they do? And describe that behavior. That's really the objective of this exercise. We're getting stronger about and deeper understanding of this ally behavior. Hold on. Now, usually when I get to this point, some people might be saying to yourselves, well, I had an incident coming up in my mind, but Achebe, nobody came. Yeah. Yeah, I know that can happen. You still get to describe that, because clearly that incident is very, very powerful for you. That's what came up to your mind. But to do the exercise, it's perfect, because then you're going to describe to your partner, no one came. Not in that moment, not over the period of time, the whole time it was going on. But if someone had been ready to come and be your ally, what would you have wanted them to do? Do you understand the exercise? That's a perfect experience for you to share, because it's such a powerful, meaningful experience for you. And no, nobody came, but if they did, now you get to reflect on ally behavior. I would have wanted someone to do this, and it doesn't even have to be a perfect thing. You go, or maybe that, or maybe, you're just thinking out loud with each other. Okay, so the business of ally behavior is something that we're strengthening and deepening our understanding of through this exercise. Share with your partner. When you finish your part, you throw it to your partner. They say their thing, and then we'll be moving on to part 2. I'm going to ring the sing bowl. If you haven't finished, by the time I hit the sing bowl, you have to stop and throw it to your partner. So, target and allies. How are we doing? Everything? Yeah? You're good, Rishma? Yeah. Okay. Talk to each other. All right. Bringing your thoughts to a close. Bringing your thoughts to a close. Don't move. We have part 2. Did you guys do part 2? You were not supposed to. If you did, you were not supposed to. All right. And you guys did a whole dissertation on another kind of thing, which is good. Is that your water? Yeah, I just want to. Okay. Attention, s'il vous plaît. No, stay there. We have another part to do. We have another part to do. So, I'm going to ask you, but it's a rhetorical question. So how much did you really talk about the ally, about qualities of the ally? Yeah, you did? Oh, you're better than most groups I have. That's good, because that's where we want to go. So now we're still strengthening, deepening our grasp of our hold on it. We got the grasp of it, but our ownership of this thing of ally. So we want to go to the next section, and you're going to use any identity you want. In the package you can see anti-racist, but you can do any of the identities you want. I want you to think about a time now when you wanted to be an ally, you wanted to interrupt some kind of prejudice, stereotyping, discrimination, oppressive behavior, policy, practice, so forth, that was coming at another person or another group. And it doesn't have to be something that happened just once in a moment, but it might have been over a period of time in an organization, a community, social group, school, health, whatever. Or it might have been one time, because that's the very powerful experience for you. But you wanted to be an ally. You wanted to interrupt whatever was going on. But you didn't. You did not do it. And of course, this is not about beating yourself up or anything. There's just so many contexts in which we are constrained and whatever, or personally, we can be afraid. We get to admit that we might have been afraid or just kind of cowardly in that moment. Couldn't do it. We're human beings. For whatever reason, you wanted to interrupt. Now, I offer there, it was some kind of racist behavior that was going on, but it might have been some kind of sexist behavior, classist, casteist, ageist, ableist, whatever the dynamic was going on. You knew that this was oppression. This was systemic whatever. This was wrong. Didn't do it. But now, so you're going to tell that to your colleague. Again, don't linger too long on the story, but you're setting it up. And you're saying, but I did not interrupt. But if I could go back to that situation, this is what my ally behavior would look like. And again, we're not talking about perfect constructions of things. You can't create the perfect setting. So again, it's a time to explore with each other. If I could have gone back, maybe, and so you get to, maybe I could have, or perhaps it might have been better if I did such and such. Whatever it is, just think out loud with your partner. What would my ally behavior have looked like? What would I have wanted it to look like if I could go back? Okay? So whoever started first this time, you throw it to your partner to start first, and let's do some more talking about ally behavior. Switch if you have not. You should shift if you have not. Okay, good people. Thank your partner, and let's come on back and debrief this. And what we want to do from what you've just done, you know, and you knew before we even started, a lot about allies. And it's like the way we started off the workshop. There's nothing new that I was going to be presenting, offering to you during the course of these 3 days. The challenge to me and to us was to sharpen what we already know, deepen it, broaden it, etc., so that it becomes even more useful and enhances our capacity building work, okay? So now allies is just up in your consciousness in a way that's fresh and different anyhow, and expanded, we hope. So let's just, from that, we're going to generate a list, and again, our beautiful, elegant scribe, Madame Farida, will write, but every now and then I have to stop you because she can only write so fast. So the question is, so what do you want in an ally? What do you want to be as an ally? What are some of the qualities of an ally? Shout it out.
Understand the context.
Huh?
Understand the context.
Understand context. Shared passion. Hold on, right there. Understand context, shared passion.
Same objectives.
What?
Same objectives.
Same objectives, okay?
Shared what?
Shared passion. Let's say and objectives, because that's the same thing, huh? Shared passion and objectives.
Smart.
Huh? Smart. And smart depends on, smart about what? It doesn't have to be the IQ.
Well, no, but smart in the situation that he doesn't put me in more trouble. Like,
Yeah. So if I might add a friendly, strategic, that's exactly what I was going to add. A friendly expansion of that strategic, and we can also add, a part of what you're getting at is savvy. That thing's like, you need to know what you're doing here. Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. Okay. But you also as ally, because you're not just talking about what you want from somebody else, it's what you want to be also as an ally. Is smart and savvy in the situation. All right. We want to bring this then entire thing to a close, and that's why I'm trying to sit you down, and thank you. Good. And ask you, ultimately, ultimately, I just want to have this ready. Ultimately, who are you being an ally for? I didn't hear it. The helpless, you're saying?
The oppressed.
The oppressed. I thought, I'm sorry, it was awful. The oppressed. The oppressed. Yeah? The oppressed. And the oppressed would be, what? Across the chart in terms of those who are targeted because of, race, class, caste, religion, gender, and so forth. So yes, that is who you're being an ally for, but not ultimately. My question was, ultimately, who are you being an ally for? Yourself. And sometimes it's hard for us to just say that, but that's so powerful and then so important, because ultimately, why you're being an ally, yes, for anybody who's targeted, for any oppression or prejudice and so forth, but ultimately it's because you don't want to live in a world that looks like this. And so all of my work, is about this, because my humanity demands that I say no to this. And I say no to this through my actions, and we have just framed those actions as ally. You can call it whatever you want, but it is taking action, and that's what WELD is all about at this point. So with that, my friends, I thank you very much for your attention.